So shall I start?
Yes, Dr. Lee.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our performance of Cats. It is based on the long poem, Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats by T.S. Eliot, 1948 Nobel Prize winner of literature. T.S. Eliot, American and British poet and playwright, is known for his poem, The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, his play, Murder in the Cathedral, and his masterpiece of poetry, The Wasteland. Our players are all former FLED students, one current, who have performed in our FLED drama team plays, performing in Bay, our theater. The oldest graduated in 2007, and the youngest will graduate in July. Everyone has seen or heard of the musical Cats, played in New York, Paris, London, Tokyo, all over the world. We will not sing and dance, but we will be cats. We hope you enjoy the performance.
Hanife Emel Yüksel as narrator, the Great Rumpus Cat, and Macavity.
Murat Akbıyık as a narrator, a Jellicle Cat, and Mr. Mistopheles, the magical cat.
Miraç Taş as the Grumpy Cat and Rumpelteazer.
Tueda Erzin as Growl Tiger, a Bravo Cat, and Gus, the theater cat.
Volkan Çelik as the Rum-Tum Tugger, a curious cat, and Bustopher Jones, St. James's street cat.
Murat Güç as a Jellicle Cat and Skimbleshanks.
Kerim Kartal as Manga Jerry and Mr. Deuteronomy.
The naming of cats is a difficult matter. It isn't just one of your holiday games.
You may think at first I am as mad as a hatter when I tell you a cat must have 3 different names.
First of all, there is the name that the family use daily, such as Peter, Augustus, Alonso, or James.
Such as Victor or Jonathan, George or Bill Bailey. All of them sensible everyday names.
They are fancier names if you think they sound sweeter, some for the gentlemen, some for the dames.
Such as Plato, Electra, Galileo, Cleopatra, but all of them sensible everyday names.
But I tell you, a cat needs a name that's particular, a name that's peculiar, and more dignified.
Else, how can he keep up his tail perpendicular, or spread out his whiskers, or cherish his pride?
Of names of this kind, I can give you a bundle, such as Marvelous, Midnight, or Lady Macbeth.
Such as Rashomon, Regis, or Richard III, names that never belong to more than one cat.
But above and beyond, there's still one name left over, and that is the name that you never will guess.
The name that no human can ever discover, but the cat himself knows and will never confess.
When you notice a cat in profound meditation, the reason, I tell you, is always the same.
His mind is engaged in a rapt contemplation of the thought of the thought of the thought of his name.
His affable,
Often ineffable,
deep and inscrutable,
singular name.
I have a Gumby cat in mind. Her name is Jenny Anydots. Her coat is of the tabby kind with tiger stripes and leopard spots. All day she sits upon the stairs or on the steps or on the mat. She sits and sits and sits and sits. And that's what makes a Gumby cat.
When the day's hustle and bustle is done, then the Gumby cat's work is but hardly begun. And when all the family is in bed and asleep, I tuck up my skirt to the basement to creep. I am deeply concerned with the ways of the mice. Their behavior is not good, their manners not nice. So when I have got them all lined up on the matting, I teach them music, crocheting, and chatting.
I have a Gumby cat in mind. Her name is Jenny Anydots. Her equal would be hard to find. She likes the warm and sunny spots. All day she sits beside the hearth, or on the bed, or on my head. She sits and sits and sits and sits. And that's what makes a Gumby cat.
When the day's hustle and bustle is done, then the Gumby cat's work is but hardly begun. As I find that the mice will not ever keep quiet, I am sure it is due to irregular diet. I make them a mouse cake of bread and dried peas and a beautiful fry of lean bacon and cheese.
I have a Gumby cat in mind. Her name is Jenny Anydots. She sits upon the windowsill or anything that's smooth and flat. She sits and sits and sits and sits. And that's what makes a Gumby cat.
Oh, when the day's hustle and bustle is done, then the Gumby cat's work is but hardly begun. I think that the cockroaches just need employment to prevent them from idle and wanton destroyment. So I have formed from that lot of disorderly lots a troop of well-disciplined, helpful Boy Scouts with a purpose in life and a good deed to do.
So, for all Gumby cats, let us now give 3 cheers. Yip yip!
Hooray!
Yip yip!
Hooray!
Yip yip!
Hooray!
Growl Tiger was a bravo cat who lived upon a barge. In fact, she was the roughest cat that ever roamed at large. From Marmaris to Erzurum, she pursued her evil aims, rejoicing in her title of the Terror of the Turks.
Her manners and appearance did not calculate the police. Her coat was torn and seedy. She was baggy at the knees. One ear was somewhat missing, no need to tell you why, and she scowled upon a hostile road from one forbidding eye.
The cottagers of Tarabya knew something of her fame. At Üsküdar and Şişli, people shuddered at her name. They would fortify the hen house, lock up the siligos, when the rumor ran along the core. Growl tigers on the loose.
But most the cats of foreign race her hatred had begrowled. To cats of foreign name and race no quarter was allowed. The Persian and the Siamese regarded with her fear, because it was a Siamese had mauled her missing ear.
Now, on a peaceful summer night, all nature seemed at play. The tender moon was shining bright. the barge at Bebek lay. All in the balmy moonlight, it lay rocking on the tide. And Growl Tiger was disposed to show her sentimental side.
Concentrating your attention on Mr. Griddlebone.
And her raffish crew were sleeping in their barrels and their bunks as the Siamese came creeping in their samples and their junks. Growl Tiger had no eye or ear, aught but Griddlebone, and Growl Tiger seemed enraptured by his manly baritone.
And closer still, and closer the sampan circled round. The lovers sang their last duet, in danger of their lives, for the foe was armed with toasting forks and cruel carving knives.
With a frightful burst of fireworks, the Chinese swarmed aboard.
Abandoning their sampans and their poison drunks, they battened down the hatches of the crew within their bunks.
Then Griddlebone, he gave a screech, for he was badly scared. I'm sorry to admit it, but he quickly disappeared.
But a frightening ring of stealing, flashing steel Growl Tiger did surround. The ruthless foe pressed forward in stubborn rank on rank. Growl Tiger, to her vast surprise, was forced to walk the plank.
Kerflip, kerflop.
Oh, there was joy in Beijing when the news flew through the land. At Hong Kong and at Shanghai, there was dancing everywhere.
Rats were roasted whole at Laos and at Tokyo-dok, and a day of celebration was commanded in Bangkok.
The Rum Tum Tugger is a curious cat. If you offer him a pheasant, he would rather have a grouse. If you put him in a house, he would much prefer a flat. If you put him in a flat, then he would rather have a house. If you set him on a rat, then he only wants a rat. If you set him on a rat, then he would rather chase a mouse.
Yes, the Rum Tum Tugger is a curious cat,
And there isn't any call for me to shout it.
for he will do,
As he
does,
and there is no doing anything about it.
The Rum Tum Tugger is a terrible bore. When you let him in, then he wants to be out. He is always on the wrong side of every door. And as soon as he's at home, then he'd like to get about. He likes to lie in the broad rower, but he makes such a fuss if he can't get out.
yes, the Rum Tum Tugger is a curious cat,
And there isn't any use for you to doubt it.
for he will do,
As he
does,
and there is no doing anything about it.
If you offer him cream, then he sniffs and sneers. For he only likes what he finds for himself. The Rum Tum Tugger is artful and knowing. The Rum Tum Tugger doesn't care for a cuddle, but he'll leap on your lap in the middle of your sewing, for there's nothing he enjoys like a horrible muddle.
yes, the Rum Tum Tugger is a curious cat,
And there isn't any need for me to spot it.
for he will do,
As he
does,
and there is no doing anything about it. Jellicle cats come out tonight. Jellicle cats come one, come all. The Jellicle moon is shining bright. Jellicles come to the Jellicle ball.
Jellicle cats are black and white, Jellicle cats are rather small. Jellicle cats are merry and bright.
Jellicle cats have cheerful faces. Jellicle cats have bright black eyes. Jellicles wash behind their ears. Jellicles dry between their toes.
Jellicle cats are white and black. Jellicle cats are of moderate size. Jellicles jump like a jumping jack. Jellicle cats have moonlit eyes. Jellicle cats are black and white. Jellicle cats, as I said, are small.
If it happens the sun is shining bright, you would say they had nothing to do at all.
They are resting and saving themselves to be right.
For the Jellicle moon,
And the Jellicle ball.
Mango Jerry!
And Rumpelteazer were a very notorious couple of cats.
Yes, knockabout clowns and quick change comedians.
Tightrope walkers and acrobats.
They had extensive reputation.
If the area window was found ajar and the basement looked like a field of war,
Or
If the drawers were pulled out from the bedroom chairs
chests.
and you couldn't find one of your winter wears,
Chests.
Then the family would say,
it's that horrible cat.
It was Mango Jerry.
Or Rumpelteazer.
And most of the time they left it at that.
Mango Jerry!
and Rumpelteazer had a very unusual gift of the gab. They were highly efficient cat burglars as well, and remarkably smart at smash and grab.
When the family assembled for Sunday dinner, with their minds made up that they wouldn't get dinner, then the cook would appear from behind the scenes and say in a voice that was broken with sorrow, "I'm afraid you must wait and have dinner tomorrow, for the meat has gone from the oven like that."
then the family would say,
It's that horrible cat.
It was Mango Jerry.
Or Rumpelteazer.
And most of the time they left it at that.
Mango Jerry!
And Rumpelteazer, they would go through the house like a hurricane. Was it Mango Jerry or Rumpelteazer?
And when you heard the dining room smash, or up from the pantry there came a loud crash,
Or down from the library came a loud ping?
then the family would say,
Now, which was which cat?
It was Mango Jerry.
And Rumpelteazer.
And there is nothing at all to be done about that.
Mr. Deuteronomy's lived a long time. Mr. Deuteronomy's buried 9 wives. And more, I'm tempted to say, 99. When he sits in the sun on the vicarage wall,
the oldest inhabitants croak.
Well, of all things,
can it be? Really? No. Yes.
Oh, hi.
Oh my eye!
I believe it is Mr. Deuteronomy.
Mr. Deuteronomy sits in the street. He sits in the high street on market day. The bullets may bellow,
No.
and the sheep they may bleat, but the dogs will turn them away.
The oldest inhabitants croak.
Well, of all things,
Can it be? Really? No. Yes.
Oh, hi.
Oh my eye!
My sight's unreliable, but I can guess that the cause of the trouble is Mr. Deuteronomy.
Mr. Deuteronomy lies on the floor of the kahve dünyası for his afternoon sleep. And when the men say, there's just time for one more, then the landlady from her back parlor will peep and say,
Now then, Archie, go by the back door, for Mr. Deuteronomy mustn't be walking. I'll have the police if there's any uproar.
And the oldest inhabitants croak.
well, of all things,
Can it be really? No. Yes.
Oh, hi.
Oh my eye!
And be careful of Mr. Deuteronomy.
Oh, the awful battle of the pigs and the pollicles. And the intervention of the great Rumpus cat.
Now, on the occasion of which I shall speak, almost nothing had happened for nearly a week, and no one at all was about on the street when a pig and a pollicle happened to meet.
they did not advance or exactly retreat, but they glared at each other and scraped their hind feet, and they started to until you could hear them all over the park.
Now, when these bold heroes together assembled, and some of the neighbors were so much afraid,
When suddenly, up from a small basement flat, why, who should stalk out but the great Rumpus cat?
Her eyes were like fireballs, fearfully blazing. She gave a great yawn. Ah. But her jaws were amazing. When she looked out through the bars of the area, you never saw anything fiercer or hairier. And what with the glare of her eyes and her yawning, the pigs and the pollicles took warning. She looked at the sky and she gave a great leap, and every last one of them scattered like sheep.
and when the police dog returned to his beat,
There wasn't a single one of them left in the street.
You ought to know Mr. Mistopheles, the original magical cat.
the greatest magicians have something to learn from Mr. Mistopheles' magical turn. Presto, away we go.
And we all say, oh,
Well, I never.
was there ever?
A cat so clever
as magical Mr. Mistopheles.
He's quiet and small. He's black from his ears to the tip of his tail. He can creep through the tiniest crack. He can walk on the narrowest rail. He can pick any card from a pack. He is equally cunning with dice.
And we all say, oh,
Well, I never.
Was there ever
a cat so clever
As magical Mr. Mistopheles.
His manner is vague and aloof. You would think there was nobody shyer.
But not long ago, this phenomenal cat produced 7 kittens right out of a hat.
and we all said, oh,
Well, I never.
did you ever
know a cat so clever
As magical Mr. Mistopheles.
McCavity is a mystery cat. She is called the hidden paw, for she is the master criminal who can defy the law. For when they reach the scene of crime,
McCavity is not there.
There.
McCavity, there's no one like McCavity, for she's broken every human law. She breaks the law of gravity. And when you reach the scene of crime,
McCavity
is
is
not
not there.
you may seek her in the basement, you may look up in the air. But I tell you once and once again,
McCavity is not there.
McCavity is a ginger cat. She is very tall and thin. Her coat is dusty from neglect. Her whiskers are uncombed. She sways her head from side to side with movements like a snake. When you think she's half asleep, she is always wide awake.
McCavity, there's no one like McCavity, for she's a fiend in feline shape, a monster of depravity. You may meet her in a by-street, you may see her in the square, but when a crime is discovered, then
McCavity is not there.
McCavity, there's no one like McCavity. There never was a cat of such deceitfulness and suavity. She always has an alibi, 1 or 2 to spare, and whatever time the deed took place,
McCavity wasn't there.
the Napoleon of crime.
Gus is the cat at the theater door. Her name, as I ought to have told you before, is really Asparagus. That's such a fuss to pronounce that we usually call her just Gus.
yet she was
In her youth,
quite the smartest of cats, but no longer a terror to mice and to rats. For she isn't the cat that she was in her prime, though her name was quite famous
she says,
in my time.
for she once was as highest degree. She has acted with Paltrow. She has acted with me. But her grandest creation as she loved to tell, was the black cat by Poe, the fiend from hell.
I have played
So she says,
every possible part, and I used to know 70 speeches by heart. And I knew how to let the cat out of the bag. I knew how to act with my back and with my tail. I've the voice that will soften the hardest of hearts. But my grandest creation, as history will tell, was the black cat by Poe, the fiend from hell.
at a Shakespeare performance, she once played a cat. She once played a tiger, could do it again.
These modern productions are all very well, but there is nothing to equal, from what I hear tell, that moment of mystery when I made history in The Black Cat by Poe, the fiend from hell.
Buster Jones is not skin and bones. In fact, he is remarkably fat.
No, no.
He doesn't hound pups. He has 8 or 9 clubs, for he is the St. James's street cat. He is the cat they all greet as he walks down the street in his coat of fastidious black. In the whole of St. James's, the smartest of names is the name of this bramble of cats.
And just before noon is not a moment too soon to drop in for a drink at the club. When he is seen in a hurry, there's probably curry at the Siamese or at Chin Chin's.
So much in this way passes past the first day. At one club or another he is found. It can be no surprise that under our eyes he has grown unmistakably round. But he is so well preserved because he's observed all his life a routine.
So he'll say,
Buster Jones.
there's the whisper down the line at 11:39 when the night mail's ready to depart, saying,
Kimball!
Where is Kimball? Has he gone to hunt the symbol? We must find him or the train can't start.
all the guards and all the porters and the station master's daughters, they are searching high and low, saying,
Kimball! Where is Kimball? For unless he's very nimble, then the night mail just can't go.
At 11:42, then the signal's nearly due, and the passengers are frantic to a man. Then Skimble will appear. He gives one flash of his glass green eyes, and the signal goes,
Oh,
Clear!
and we are off at last for the northern part of the northern hemisphere.
You may say that by and large, it's Kimball who is in charge. He will supervise them all, more or less. Down the corridor, he paces and examines all the faces. He establishes control, so the folk are very quiet when Kimball is about and on the move. You, mister, you can play no pranks with Skimbleshanks. So nothing goes wrong on the Northern Mail when Skimbleshanks is aboard.
For Skimble won't let anything go wrong. You can leave all that to the railway cat, the cat of the railway train. And then he has a cup of tea with perhaps a drop of scotch while he's keeping on the watch, only stopping here and there to catch a flea. You will meet without fail on the Midnight Mail, the cat of the railway train.
So, cats are much like you and me. For some are sane and some are mad.
And some are good, some are bad. Some are better, some are worse.
But all may be described in verse. But how would you address a cat?
So first your memory I'll jog and say a cat is not a dog.
And you might now and then supply some caviar or strawberry pie with cream.
Some potted grouse or salmon paste. He is sure to have his personal taste.
I know a cat who makes a habit of eating nothing else but rabbit.
And when he is finished, licks his paws.
So as not to waste the onion sauce.
A cat's entitled to expect.
These evidences of respect.
And so in time you reach your aim.
And finally call him by his name.
So this is this and that is that.
And there is how you
Address a cat.
And never, please, never call a cat a cat. Thanks. I hope our guests will come back on, become visible, I mean, yes, and
Yes.
see if they have any questions. or-
Everyone, please turn their camera and microphone off.
On.
We are done.
on, maybe?
Yeah, we are 35, quite crowded actually.
It was
How many?
41 at one point.
35, yes.
Mhm.
Okay, very nice.
Thank you.
Dr. Mazzari, can you say something? Are you there? Nergis. Yes,
yes, she's also here.
yes, I see her name. A current student, Faiza Chapa. Yes. I hope they can come on. Ayhan Donaire. Duygu, we talked to you earlier. I'm just, Duygu, do you remember Dr. Mazzari, who was in the literature department? No?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay. He was here, I think he's been gone about 6 years or 6 or 7 years, I believe. Hello, Banu, how are you?
Dr. Lim, Dr. Mazzari
Yes.
writes on the chat box, and he says, I can't turn my camera on because it's been turned off by you, folks, because we did it at the beginning of the play.
Okay.
But
Can you do that?
I will try now.
Ayuk?
I will try
Right.
now, Dr. Lim, yes.
Okay, thank you. Maybe you can do it
I'll
better than
stop
I
the
can.
recording maybe.
Nergis.
Hello, Dr. Doyu. How are you? Thank you very much.
Right.
We are together.
There as well.
Visha and me together today to watch you.
Yeah. Who is the other one?
Visha.
Bushra, yes, I recognize the face. So how are you?
Yes, Dr.
How
Mazzari
are
is,
you?
Yeah, Dr. Mazzari, can you speak? Are you,
Yes.
yes, oh, okay, wow.
Yeah.
So,
How are you,
welcome,
Judy?
thank you for coming.
Sure. No,
Yeah, it's very nice of you.
it's very fun.
Yeah, I don't know if everyone knows, Dr. Mazzari was in the literature department of our university for about 10 or 12 years, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've been in New York City for how long?
For about 5 or 6 years now.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we really appreciate him. He's been a faithful member of our book club, the Pomegranate. So yeah, so we really appreciate him. He's given several lectures in our club and has joined us many, many times. So we really appreciate it. Yeah. Okay. So
It's an interesting format for this because it really presents all the different voices simultaneously. It's great. It actually is good. I mean, it's like most of the time the Zoom experience is less, right? But this actually is an appropriate, it seems, an appropriate performance for it.
It's very different from the theater. We've done it in the theater, I think 6 or 7 or 8 times. So this is the first time online. And yeah, it really is different. It's challenging, but I think the players really did well. They were all, you know, they've all been players before in the theater, in our theater. So,
well, you know, that's something I was curious about. What would the players say is the challenge of doing it this way as opposed to on stage? Are there any, in terms of performance, are there any obstacles that they have to overcome that are like, I would think that it would be difficult without having the visual cues of having my fellow performers right next to me. But I'm really curious what you folks think of that.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I don't know, who would like to answer? Mark, would you like to?
Miraj is, yes, Miraj.
Okay, Raj.
We talked about this, right? Yeah, obviously there are some obstacles, but I think the fact that we can see our mimics, like every movement on the face is really helping us, because on the stage that's not possible. So I think in a way it is advantageous, in a way, you know, I don't know, we really trust each other, I think, in this aspect. So we commented a lot on each other's performance, but I think it worked out.
Yeah,
Thanks.
it really.
Someone else, another cat?
I can say something,
anyone?
maybe. Yeah, like
Okay, yes.
one of the biggest differences is like when you're on the stage, you know, nobody is going to basically interrupt you, or when you start talking, everyone is going to hear you. But on Zoom, you know, like the changes in pitch kind of like disables you to start talking directly, and it's a bit later than it would normally be. So we tried to kind of figure out a way to, you know, play with that around, try to find some balance in that, and I think this is like the optimum we could get. Maybe if we worked on it a little more, maybe we could get it a little better, but like this is more or less what you can do on Zoom.
Yeah, interesting.
Super. Yeah, I would like to comment on digital part. Zoom is more online and virtual, but on the stage, it's more artistic. You should depend on your voice and the stuff you have around. But on Zoom, you should also improve your digital skills to integrate it better during the performance. And we have been discussing with our friends how to do it together at the same time, because it's not directly like memorizing on the stage, but we were just kind of reading at the same time, following the flow of the play. So it was kind of combination of digital and artistic, like more drama skills together. So it was a good experience for us. Thank you, Dr. Dave.
And Murat is an expert. He's excellent at doing all of the technical things that we needed doing. Yes, really.
Thank you. Thank you,
Dr. Mazzari, Louis, did you see Rashomon, our first performance online?
Yeah, yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I did. Sure.
So yeah, this was more digital, different, very different, because this was, you know, a comedy, of course, but the other was quite a serious kind of tragedy, and yeah, but I think it was a good contrast, huh?
Well, I mean, very, very much a contrast, and I was thinking in a certain way today, your degree of difficulty was higher because there are so many more voices than with Rashomon. I mean, not that was easy. That was still very difficult, but
yeah, it's a different kind of performance.
Interplay of so many voices. You know, I mean, it's really would be, you know, really an accomplishment to be able to coordinate them, all your voices so well.
Good comment. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Someone else or another audience member, would you like to say something?
There are some chats, Dr. Duyum. Ümit Yardım says it was awesome, even though it was on Zoom. It made my day. Thanks. And Ayhan Döner, our friend, says it's really nice to see you all again. I like the performance. Thanks. And Didem Onat said thank you. Yeah, we have some other comments.
Everyone's able to turn on his camera now, isn't he?
As far as I think, yes, or they can ask for the permission to ask it.
Nergis, do you have a comment? I remember when you were in, what was it? Alice in Fredland, was that it? You were Alice?
Yes, it was Alice.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. I still have that white dress in my closet.
Really? And the hat also?
And when I look at it, I think of you.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice, thank you. It was the first time actually I watched something like this on Zoom. And I really like that. I hope you can go on like this with new cast, also with newcomers maybe from out of the school.
Yeah, thank you. It hasn't been easy because I think students were, just, they were not used to this idea of performing online. But I got the idea because in our classes, we have performance, the use of drama, and the other one, use of literature, and they perform, students do. So I got the idea, well, why can't we perform in a play? So I think, we have done that. So I'm really proud of all the players. So,
yeah, for me too, it's something new for me as well.
Yeah, I hope I can encourage others, to, since we have to be online, that we can take advantage of it and, make it a positive experience. So another comment or question from an audience member, Birjay, what, any comment from you?
Yeah, I'd like to say that I totally fell in love with this performance. I mean, everyone seemed so integrated, and everyone seemed like they all internalized their roles, and it was so successful. I mean, and the other things such as sound effects and the facial expressions and hand gestures and backgrounds. It was amazing. I think this performance couldn't have been performed better.
Oh,
I think this is very good.
I think, online, we've seen that the backgrounds and the costuming, makeup can be very effective. In Rashomon, the women had on beautiful kimonos. They had white, Japanese style makeup, their hair up, and the samurai was there with his sword, and it was really effective too.
Really?
And so, yeah, I think, Louis, you saw it, and I thought that was really, really nice. They did a wonderful job. And so, in Cats too, I think they have really done well. Yeah, it's not a real play. It's a series of, it's a poem, a long poem about 14 different cats. So, it's a different kind of, challenge, I think. So, another comment or question from a member? Anyone else?
I was just going to say, in comparison with Rashomon, the point of view was more distant. Where with this, it's all close-ups. Everyone's in a close-up, and so the makeup is very important, but it gives a completely different feel. It doesn't so much feel as though you're in an audience. It feels I don't even know how to describe.
Yeah, maybe because it's a poem. Maybe that really has something to do with it, huh? That it's a poem and not a play like Rashomon or. Yeah, I think Dr. Mazzari is frozen. Yeah,
but the same thing too. It's not so much like a page. It's very different.
Banu, she's going to be Lady Macbeth. We hope we can perform perhaps next week. We'll see. So, what do you think? Of course, Macbeth is very different from something like Cats. Any comments? Can't hear you, Banu.
We can't hear you now.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. We will not be that much technology friendly. I think we can't at least, but this was my third time to see the performance from the rehearsals. but it never gets boring. That's quite interesting. It's about how you play it, how you perform it. So all these gestures, makeups, all these material usage in these scarce conditions. I mean, scarce by a small area on a screen. So it's even the effort works too much, but I think that was a quite successful, and I had so much fun. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks,
Thank you
Vanya.
for being
Very
here.
nice.
Thanks.
Yes, Hanife, do you have something to say or anything?
Well, I enjoyed it. I mean, I hope the audience enjoyed it as much as we did. But when we started this, when you first emailed me, you know, to have a project like this, I got so excited. I didn't know who I'm going to perform with, but I'm so happy to, you know, get to know the other cats. And, you know, please allow me to use this opportunity to thank you, Dr. Doyum.
Okay. Maybe we said we would introduce, you know, each player would introduce himself and just say, you know, a few things, whatever he wanted to. Shall we do that now?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know why, you know, it's changing, or I don't know how that happens, but Kerim, would you like to start then? And we'll listen to every cat a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. I'm Kerim Kartal, and I graduated in 2008. So I performed in 3 plays directed by Dr. Doyum, and another 2 before and after, and now this is the 6th one. And I'm currently in Canada. I'm an English instructor here at the School of English at Queen's University. It's in a small city called Kingston. So the time difference is a challenge, but thanks to my friends who are really accommodating, it wasn't really a challenge. So, so that's about me. About the play, I was really, this morning I was praying so that we wouldn't lose our connections, our computers wouldn't misbehave, you know, there wasn't any blackout, you know, anything could happen, right? I think that was one of the biggest challenges of performing on Zoom.
Yes.
Like, luck really plays a role in this, you know, we need luck. Plus, this just, you know, in addition to what everyone else said, this part of our body mattered here as opposed to performing on the stage, meaning we had to put a lot more emphasis on facial expressions and our voice and exaggerate, enunciate more. That was the, so these are the advantages and disadvantages that I have experienced. But I enjoyed it a lot, just like Hanife. And thank you all for joining us today.
Thanks.
Thank you. Dr. Doyum, as far as I remember, in the Zoom setting, this session was planned to end at 8:30. I'm not sure, but just in case.
No, I reserved it. I reserved it for a long time.
Ah, super, super. Okay.
Yeah, so it shouldn't, you know, it shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, we hope. So another cat, maybe. Miraj, can you introduce?
Yes,
Well, maybe Murat, you're there. Okay, whatever. Miraj,
Okay,
yes, go ahead.
yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, so my name is Miraj Tash, and I graduated in 2008. Like Kerim, we performed like in 3 plays, I think, with Dr. Doyum. Currently, I have been living in Spain for the last 10 years. Now I am performing in Turkey, so I feel at home. And I am engaged in so many things that I don't even want to mention. It's tourism, international trade, so I don't want to bore you. And about the play, I mean, I just want the audience to know that we didn't come here to wow anybody, because there are too many things going against us. Because we are not actors, we are doing it in a language that is not our own, we are doing it online. But I think there is such a mutual trust and admiration, and we enjoyed every little part of it, all the rehearsals, all the comments we made for each other. We enjoyed it so much, and I think this feeling may be conveyed to the audience. I am hoping that you really saw that.
Thanks. Oh, very nice. Thank you, Miraj.
Great.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Someone else? Maybe Jellicle Cat,
Murat?
also known as Mr. Gooch.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Murat. Yeah, we have 2 Murats, so that's why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm the younger one. So Murat Güç, I graduated about a decade after Kerim, and Viraj, and I think Mr. Akbek as well. I graduated in 2018 and I've been teaching English. I started teaching English long before, but like I've been teaching English since then. Now I'm working at Medipol University. And about the play, just like Hanife said, like the day I received that email, I was longing for something like that, you know, I was longing for a project like that really. So the day I received that email, I was like, wow, this is a great opportunity to come together with, you know, people with similar ideas, with similar skill levels, and, you know, and so being part of this team and watching these people rehearse, yeah, the parts that I was performing, I enjoyed it, but like as soon as my parts were over, I was just, you know, sitting down and watching the others perform. It was so much fun to just watch them, and, you know, in the rehearsals and today as well. I couldn't focus on the script too much today. I was just watching the other people and enjoying it. Really, it was great fun, and thanks a lot for giving us that opportunity.
Thanks. Thanks
Good.
a lot.
Thank
Maybe Hanife, have you spoken? I think not.
I've spoken a little bit, but I haven't
Yeah, yes.
introduced myself actually. Hello again, everybody. I'm Hanife Maliksal. I graduated in 2014, so 2014, and right after that, I started my master's. After I finished my master's, I started to work at Yadyok at Boğaziçi University, so I never had a break of school, and I'm so happy about it. Of course, I worked here and there before that, but now currently I'm working at School of Foreign Languages at our school. I performed at 3 plays during our, you know, departmental studies with Dr. Doyum, and I really enjoyed all of them. But I guess the most memorable one was Anna Karenina, which was our last play. I mean, when I was in my senior year. It was really a great opportunity, and when I look back, I remember all those good days, and today will be one of them, thankfully, thanks to Dr. Doyum and all my friends that we cooperated together with. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. And may I say that Hanife was Anna. She was Anna Karenina, and she was just great. Yeah, it was. I loved the play. I loved the film. I loved the book. Everything. So she was excellent as Anna Karenina. Thank you. Thanks, Hanife. Maybe the Rum Tum Tugger.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the whole process has been really good for us. I really enjoyed it, every part of it, and I think the best part was coming back together, back in the making of a play together under the guidance of Dr. Doyum. And it's like I graduated in 2007, and now I live in Antalya. I work at a high school under the Ministry of National Education, and after 14 years coming back together in a cast and doing the acting, and hearing Dr. Doyum saying, don't forget the 3 keywords: pronunciation, intonation, and enunciation. And this was really great to hear again.
I know she's laughing, and Birjay. We've been hearing that all year. Yes. Great.
And we really enjoyed it. The rehearsals were really fun for us. We really kept looking forward to it every week. On Saturdays, we had our rehearsals. It was really fun for us. We enjoyed a lot. We learned a lot. It was really good to be back together.
And
I felt like I was at university again. I felt like I was at the South Campus.
Yes, I think Volkan is the only one with children, I guess. He has 2 beautiful little girls. So yeah, I think he's the only one. Congratulations on that. Yeah, thanks Volkan. Thanks very much. I think who hasn't spoken? I know Akbek hasn't. And yes. Sweda. Okay. Yeah, Sweda, please.
Oh, should I go? Okay.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Sweda Ayzen. Thank you for coming to our play. It means a lot to us. I'm actually the youngest one. I will graduate this year, and this is my 3rd play with Dr. Doyum, and I'm so happy to be here with everyone. And it was nice to meet with everyone too, since we weren't meeting before. And it was a really nice process, as we have been at home for a long time and no social interaction, but with this, like, we had fun. We get to improve ourselves. So thank you, and thank you for coming.
The 3 plays, Macbeth and?
cats and cats.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Yes. Because she was Skimbleshanks in
Yes.
Cats. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Thanks. And I think last but maybe last but certainly not least, I think Akbuk, have you introduced yourself? Thanks.
I know.
Thanks.
Actually, I spoke a little bit, but I haven't. I am Murat Akbıyık. I graduated in 2007 together with Volkan, and we acted in 2 or 3 plays previously. This is the 4th experience, and this is the best one actually, the most outstanding one with different skills. I was also the assistant director in the previous plays that I took role, and Dr. Liam gave this special present to me, and I still keep it. So when I saw the email from Dr. Liam inviting us about the project, I was amazed, and I said, okay, of course I am in, and we tried to include as many people as possible. Right? So it was really fun to be together. And as a teacher, I got a lot of ideas to apply this kind of activities online and also in my lessons as literature projects, like using more drama in our work and whatever. So it was all fun. My friends all mentioned about the fun we had together during the rehearsals and performance as well. And we did our best to welcome you all here. And once again, thank you for all the audience. And we will try to put this online as well, so you can also watch it again, maybe as a reference. So you can say I was there on.
Thanks. Thanks, Murat. I wish there was someone here from the Rashomon performance, because I think there is not, and it would be interesting to hear their comments.
Yeah,
Dr. Mazzari
maybe there are actually.
I don't know. Is anyone here who saw the Rashomon performance? Dr. Mazzari did. I don't believe anyone else.
I saw that too, Dr. Liam.
Okay, yes. But I mean, one of the Rashomon players,
No,
I guess is what I.
guess nobody.
Yeah, I guess no one is here. Okay. So, are there any other comments or questions or?
I have 2 colleagues from Kadir Has University, and
Yes,
they are
okay.
cat lovers actually. I have always been envying them because they love cats. They have cats, pets, and I don't have one at home, but now I am the cat. So.
Who are they?
Shule and Didem just opened their cameras.
Didem,
Yeah.
Didem Hanım, yeah, I really enjoyed watching her photo because she had such a big smile, and she just made me happy while watching her profile, looking at her profile picture. There's a wonderful smile. Yeah, so that was great. And your background, maybe ask what that is.
Yeah, well, I like to change, different backgrounds.
Yeah, that looks great.
And so I'm trying to make things more interesting. Unfortunately, we're having the summer school, and it's not really that interesting because the students have failed, they're depressed. We're just trying to make things better for them, And it was lovely. Thank you so much for everything you have prepared for us to watch. Performance was lovely.
Did you
I love
recognize?
T.S. Eliot. I love the love song of J. Alfred.
Oh, yes, I do too.
Actually, I am a Boğaziçi University graduate, language literature, like you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
But I'm a very old graduate. Very
I'm trying to think.
1995.
Oh.
So I'm
Lewis.
52 years old. And
Kim Fortuny. Do you know Dr. Fortuny? Kim Fortuny. Kim Fortuny. She has been there. She has been in the literature department for a long time. At Boğaziçi University.
Well, I graduated in 1995.
Okay.
I think Kim joined the faculty about 2000. So
as far as I know, yeah.
I joined in 1998. September of 1998, yes. And we've been performing plays. We started in 2001. We did Romeo and Juliet. That was our first one. And I wish that someone, was here, had been here tonight from Romeo and Juliet. That would have been really nice. Yeah. So,
Didem, I have a question. Were we, like cats? Did we really become cats? Didem?
You were excellent. You were all lovely with different characters.
Yeah, because believe me, Didem has as many cats as we are on the
Don't ask me the number of my cats now.
For sure, she has a cat of our character, for sure.
Did you recognize all of these cats?
Yeah.
Didem Hanım, yes.
Lots of kinds. But I agree with you, you know, with the way that you ended the play. Never call a cat because a cat is different from, you know, each cat is different from each other. Each one deserves a name, you know.
And very independent. I can say something kind of funny, I think. Cats were worshipped in ancient Egypt. Cats have never forgotten that. They still think that they should be worshipped. Yes.
They still want to be worshipped.
Yeah.
They are on the hieroglyphs.
So thank you very much, and I think we'll finish there. Thank you, audience, and also, of course, the cats. We really appreciate that.
Really.
And Dr.
Always.
Mazzari also. I think he's the only one of my colleagues who is here and from the States. So I really do appreciate that, Louis. And so we'll be in touch, and I hope to see you again on Pomegranate. And
Definitely.
maybe we'll have some more attendees now. So that would be nice.
No,
So
this
thanks,
was
everybody.
wonderful. Really,
And
thank you so much.
thank you. So we'll see you soon, cats. Really, that was great. And so
Yeah.
we'll be in touch. Okay. Thanks, everybody. I think that was the best.
Thank you.
That was really the best performance, wasn't it? That was the best one so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's rehearsal, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
always like this, Dr. Dan.
Yeah, I
Performance is
know.
the best rehearsal.
Exactly. People always just they really amaze us. So thanks and take care.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Night.
Hello.
Hi, Nergis.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. He's so cute. Oh, no, he should have been in the play, Nergis.
It's the Strauss lady.
Yeah, wow, he's so pretty.
Her name is Lady, by the
Hello.
way, Dr. Doyo.
Lady.
Lady.
Lady, yes.
Lady. We have a cat. Her name is Juliet.
Ah,
Romeo and
nice.
Juliet. Yes. Exactly.
Oh,
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
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 Goodbye. Thank you.
And that's what make it complicated.
Congratulations, everyone.